Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Today we have brought you a film that not only plays with your mind but also challenges your perception of reality. This film takes you on a journey where every step reveals something unexpected, something you may have never imagined. As the story unfolds, it introduces twists and turns that will surprise you. What if this story isn't just a fantasy, but hints at a deeper truth? Prepare yourself, because this journey will leave you questioning everything. Answers may come, or perhaps new questions will arise. Let's open the door to this mystery and see what secrets lie behind it. This is a mystery and drama film. Be sure to watch it till the end, and if you appreciate our effort even a little, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Now, let's begin the story of a happy couple, John and Sarah. They are deeply in love and eagerly awaiting the birth of their first child. Sarah, a college professor, and John, an architect, are preparing with great excitement for the arrival of their baby. However, there's a hidden part of John's past involving an old acquaintance, Elisa. Elisa and John were once in a relationship, but John ended it to focus on his life with Sarah. Despite this, Elisa still loves John and longs to have him back. However, John firmly rejects her advances, making it clear that there's no place for her in his life anymore. One day, John leaves for a project with a friend, leaving Sarah alone at home. Suddenly, Sarah experiences severe stomach pain. Panicked, she tries to call John repeatedly, but he doesn't answer. Hours later, John sees the missed calls and rushes to the hospital, only to be greeted by the most devastating news of his life. Their child is no more. This tragedy shatters both John and Sarah. Grief-stricken and filled with guilt, John apologizes to Sarah, saying, "I should have been with you. I never wanted to leave you alone in this condition." After a sorrowful night, morning comes. Sarah, feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, tells John, "I can't stay in this house anymore. This place reminds me of that dreadful day over and over again. We need to leave and start a new life." Wanting to support Sarah and ease her pain, John agrees. Together, they begin searching for a new home, but nothing feels right. Finally, their broker suggests meeting Amit, who owns a large, peaceful bungalow far from the city. When John and Sarah arrive, Amit warmly welcomes them. The house feels like a dream, beautiful, serene, and quiet. Amit gives them a tour showing great hospitality. Later that evening, Amit invites them to stay for dinner, saying, "You both have suffered so much. I want you to celebrate a fresh beginning here with me." After a moment of hesitation, John and Sarah agree, unaware that this new beginning will change their lives in unimaginable ways. As the story progresses, Amit shares the history of the house and its old relics. John notices something unsettling about the artifacts, which Amit keeps in glass containers, claiming they were discovered when the house was being built. Instead of discarding them, Amit preserved the objects as mementos of the house's past. They add character to this place, he explains. During their conversation, Amit suddenly asks John and Sarah, "Why are you really here? What is your purpose?" Somewhat hesitant, they respond, "We want a fresh start. A peaceful home where we can build new memories." Amit smiles and surprises them by suggesting, "Why don't you buy this house?" Sarah laughs, assuming it's a joke. "Why would you give away such a beautiful house so easily?" she asks. With a deep breath, Amit replies, "This house was once my home, but now it's just a house to me. It's filled with memories. Memories of my wife and daughter that haunt me every day. I no longer want to live here. I want to let it go." Amit insists that John and Sarah stay in the house for the night to experience it. Feeling intrigued and exhausted, they decide to spend the night in the guest room. Little do they know, this decision will lead them to a shocking discovery and unravel a truth they could never have anticipated. In the comfort of the house, John and Sarah begin to reconnect, reliving the love and intimacy of their relationship. The next morning, when they wake up, Emmett is nowhere to be found. On the table, he has left some papers. In those papers, Emmett writes, "The memories of my wife and daughter still linger in this house, and I can no longer bear them. I am handing this house over to both of you. However, there is one condition. There is a cellar door here. Never open it. The day you open that door, I will take this house back and force you both to leave. John and Sarah are shocked after reading the note. They wonder what could possibly be behind that cellar door, but they quickly decide not to dwell on it. After all, they just wanted a fresh start. In the beginning, the house feels like a dream come true, a peaceful haven where they begin to rebuild their lives. The couple is happier than ever. Amidst this happiness, they decide to host a party. John invites all of his office colleagues, including Elisa. During the party, John and Elisa find themselves talking alone. John confronts her, asking, "Why are you here?" Elisa replies, "Because I still love you." However, John firmly tells her, "I love my wife, and there is no place for you in our lives." Elisa, determined to win John back at any cost, is filled with anger and sadness. Despite her persistence, John makes it clear that he wants nothing to do with her. Suddenly, a strange man named Paul arrives at the party. His appearance feels eerie, and his presence casts a strange silence over the room. Curious, John approaches him and asks, "Who are you?" Paul smiles cryptically and replies, "I'm the one who knows the story of this house." From that moment, John and Sarah's lives take a dark turn. The mysterious house begins to haunt them, and the secret of the cellar door looms over their minds. The next day, while John is at work, he receives shocking news. Elisa has filed a sexual harassment case against him. The company's HR department informs John, "We are suspending you until this matter is resolved. Also, if you want to protect your marriage, you need to tell your wife about this situation. Do not keep her in the dark." Distraught and overwhelmed, John returns home. Sarah is there, but he cannot bring himself to tell her the truth. He is consumed with guilt and fear, and the thought of the cellar door keeps haunting him. He wonders what Emmett was hiding and why he warned them so strictly never to open it. For the next few days, John remains at home, unable to focus. One afternoon, when Sarah leaves for work, John decides to investigate the cellar door. However, he quickly discovers that he does not have the key. Frustrated, he tells Sarah about it during dinner that evening, suggesting that they should open the door. Sarah, horrified, refuses outright. "No, that was Emmett's one condition. If we open that door, we will lose this house, and I don't want that to happen." Despite Sarah's refusal, the mystery continues to eat away at John. The following day, while Sarah is at the university, John goes to an old shop to search for the house's blueprints. To his surprise, he learns something unsettling. The house does not legally belong to Emmett. It is registered under someone else's name. Ignoring this strange discovery, John brings the blueprint home. Determined to find a way into the cellar, he notices a hidden passage under the staircase. He carefully opens the passage, hoping it will lead him inside. However, when he finally accesses the cellar, he is stunned to find it completely empty. Just as he begins to relax, he notices another door deeper inside. He tries to break through it, but before he can succeed, Sarah returns home unexpectedly. Panicking, John quickly covers up his actions so Sarah doesn't find out. On top of this growing mystery, John faces yet another problem: Elisa. The next day, he decides to meet her alone, asking her to stop interfering in his life. They meet in a parking lot where John pleads with her, "Please stop following me. I am happy with my wife, and I don't want you in my life." Elisa, enraged, responds bitterly, "The house where your wife is living should have been mine. We should have been together." John firmly reiterates his love for Sarah, but Elisa retorts angrily, "You had an affair with me while you were with your wife. Back then, did you really love her?" John, unable to respond, watches helplessly as Elisa storms away. Shaken by the encounter, he returns home but keeps everything to himself, once again choosing not to tell Sarah. The next morning, John goes for a jog, leaving Sarah alone in the house. Unbeknownst to him, Sarah's curiosity is also beginning to grow, and she may soon uncover the truth about the cellar and the dark secrets within. Sarah begins to prepare for her future as a mother, and soon she discovers that she is pregnant. Overjoyed by the news, she decides to share it with John. However, as she tidies up the house, she stumbles upon the blueprint that John had brought earlier. Curious, she decides to explore the basement using the same hidden path. Once inside, Sarah discovers evidence that John had tried to cut through the cellar door. Just as Sarah is inspecting the basement, the doorbell rings. Elisa has arrived to reveal something important to Sarah. Alarmed, Sarah quickly leaves the basement, but by the time she gets upstairs, Elisa is already gone. Meanwhile, John notices Elisa's car driving away from the house. Suspicious, he begins to fear that Elisa has told Sarah everything. He gets into his car and chases after her, but Elisa's car speeds off and disappears from sight. Later that evening, John returns home, trying not to draw attention to himself. Despite being suspended from work, he doesn't tell Sarah anything about his situation to avoid worrying her. That night, Sarah shares her pregnancy news with John, and he is overjoyed. However, Sarah also confronts him about the basement. "You opened the cellar door despite my clear refusal. Why did you do that?" John apologizes sincerely and promises her that he will never do it again. Together, they close and seal the cellar door once more. The next morning, John receives a call from his company. The HR department informs him that the sexual harassment case filed against him has been dismissed. There is no evidence against him. Relieved, John's stress finally begins to ease, and he happily focuses on preparing a room for their unborn child. While fixing up the room, John notices something unusual: a bullet mark on the wall with a bullet lodged inside. Perplexed, he searches through the old items stored in the house and discovers that this bullet matches one of the objects Emmett had left behind. Stunned, John begins to suspect that Emmett might have killed his wife and daughter and hidden their bodies behind the cellar door. When he shares his suspicions with Sarah, she immediately shuts him down. "We're not getting involved in this, John. If we go to the police, we could lose this house. I don't want that." Reluctantly, John decides to drop the matter, following Sarah's advice. The next day at work, John receives disturbing news. Elisa's car has been found abandoned near the river, but there's no sign of her. Meanwhile, Sarah starts talking to a neighbor, who reveals something unsettling. "Many families have lived in that house, but none of them stayed for long. You two are the first ones to remain there this long. It's strange, isn't it?" Sarah begins to suspect that something is seriously wrong with the house. Shortly after, two detectives arrive at the house to question John. One of the detectives asks Sarah to leave so they can talk to John privately. However, Sarah secretly hides nearby and listens to their conversation. The detectives confront John about Elisa's disappearance. "John, Elisa's phone records show that the last call she received was from you. Can you explain this?" John admits, "She was my colleague and there was an affair between us. Elisa wanted to be with me, but I refused. I met her in the parking lot to explain once again that I couldn't be with her. I love my wife, and I want to stay with my family. I don't know what happened to her after that." The detectives then ask, "Where were you on the afternoon of the 14th? Before John can answer, Sarah steps out of her hiding spot and interrupts. "John was with me. I was pregnant at the time, and we were together that day." The detectives leave, seemingly satisfied with Sarah's response. However, the moment they are gone, Sarah confronts John in anger. "Why did you hide all of this from me? Why didn't you tell me the truth?" John tries to explain, "I thought the matter would resolve itself, and I didn't want to worry you." Tears well up in Sarah's eyes as she recalls a painful memory. "The day I felt severe pain in my stomach, the day I lost our baby, I was alone in the hospital. I called you over and over again, but you didn't answer. That's because you were with Elisa, weren't you?" John apologizes to his wife for everything that has happened. He admits, "I went too far and I made mistakes. Please forgive me." However, something continues to haunt John: the mystery of what lies behind the cellar door. Unable to resist any longer, he decides to visit the true owner of the house. To his surprise, it turns out to be the same man, Paul, who had appeared at their party that night. Paul finally tells John the entire story. This house has taken everything from me. My family, my happiness, my life. I came to you that night to burn this house down. It's cursed, and now it will ruin you too. You need to leave before it's too late. Despite Paul's warning, John doesn't get all the answers he seeks. Determined to uncover the truth, he returns home and announces to his wife, "Tonight, I'm opening that door, no matter what happens." Sarah tries to stop him, pleading with him to reconsider, but John refuses to listen. Desperate, Sarah takes matters into her own hands. She knocks John unconscious and points a gun at him. When he comes to, Sarah demands that he listen to her side of the story. It's then that the truth comes to light. On the day Sarah had explored the basement, Elisa had also come to the house. Elisa had not come to cause trouble, but to tell Sarah the truth about her relationship with John. However, Sarah, already suspicious and paranoid, confronted Elisa with a gun. In a heated moment, Sarah shot Elisa, killing her instantly. One of the bullets struck the wall, leaving the mark John had later discovered. Panicked, Sarah hid Elisa's body in the basement and, later that night, drove Elisa's car to a lake to make it look like Elisa had disappeared. Sarah reveals to John, "You were about to ruin everything I did to protect us. That's why I knocked you out." She then gives John an ultimatum. "You have two options. You can go to the police and tell them everything, but if you do, all the blame will fall on you. I'll tell them you killed Elisa and then attacked me, and I shot you in self-defense. Or we can forget all of this and start over. We can leave the past behind and live a new life together. It's up to you." A few days later, the couple hosts a baby shower party. Everyone seems happy, except for John, who is visibly burdened by the truth. Then, a letter arrives at their house. It's from Emmett. Together, Sarah and John read the letter. It says, "You both have done well. You never tried to open the cellar door, and for that I am pleased. As a reward, I am now handing over the key to that door. Whether you choose to open it or not is entirely up to you." With this final revelation, the film ends, leaving the fate of the cellar door and what's behind it up to the audience's imagination. The movie leaves viewers with an air of suspense and moral ambiguity, combining psychological tension with a mystery that keeps the audience on edge. The ending is deliberately open-ended, allowing viewers to interpret the fate of the characters and the house for themselves.